I can never tell if like this is just a giant blur or not. Like if it looks like I don't have eyeballs. I don't know what I would have instead. Hey, happy spooky season, kids. It's here. We made it. We made it to the best time of the year in celebration of it being the beginning of the best part of the entire year. I, Mrs. Pizza, I'm going to introduce myself, one, because you're just like, hi, who are you? I'm Mrs. Pizza, and I'm here to talk about Gothic books. I have a dog hair on my lip, which is not honestly unusual, because I kiss Winnie on her sweet head too often, and she sheds, but I'm not going to stop. I will never learn my lesson. Winnie is back there, being our current director and cinematographer. I will insert video of Winnie assuming the position as soon as I put the camera where the camera lives. We also have Cheese, which... Cheese. She's in a different spot than usual. What can I say? She likes to keep us on our toes, yet still observing with an air of judgment, aloof, and so classy. All right, we are here because I want to talk about Gothic books. I freaking love a Gothic book. I am honestly always on the hunt for something that just gives me the Gothic feels. I don't know why I did this. This feels actually rather obscene. I don't know why I keep doing it, but I love a Gothic book. I love a Gothic atmosphere. I love that like hint of supernatural, otherworldly. Everything is of just macabre and madness and dark and stormy nights. I love Gothic books. When going through and looking at some of my Gothic favorites, there were too many. And so I actually decided to split this up into quite a few videos. The first video that you were getting, hi, welcome, you're here, is some more recent Gothic stories. These have all come out over the past couple of years. I don't think any of these have come out before the year 2020. Yet they give me all of the Gothicness, and I enjoyed every single one. And I want you, if you are searching for the Gothic books, but you don't feel like picking up a classic, which we love a Gothic classic, don't get it twisted. We love a Gothic classic. Sometimes you're looking for something new. That is why we are here. So let's get this party started. The first book we are going to talk about is Hungerstone. I actually listened to this as an audiobook, and I highly recommend this as an audiobook. This is a Carmilla retelling. Carmilla being a Gothic classic and one of the original vampire stories. It is said that Carmilla actually is what inspired Dracula. It predates Dracula, which is the Gothic vampire story. So this is a reimagining of that sapphic Gothic vampireness, and this was absolutely delicious. This is the story of Lenore, and she is in a marriage that has gone kind of stagnant. It is that Victorian time period where marriages were more of a business arrangement, and Lenore and her husband have recently purchased a big crumbling estate out in the middle of nowhere surrounded by moors, and they are traveling out to this big estate when they are in some sort of carriage accident and they encounter Carmilla, beautiful, mysterious, strange Carmilla, and they bring her back to their brand new home to recover and convalesce, and gets crazy. This is a story about appetites, all kinds of appetites, and Carmilla is unlocking in Lenore a want to feed her appetites. But Carmilla is a dark and mysterious character. Some dark and mysterious things start happening, not only in their home, but in the town nearby. People's appetites are being unlocked, especially women who have been repressed. There are some really creepy images in this. There are some things that grossed me the heck out, but I will put a caveat to that because I have very specific things that just give me the ick. And there is a scene in this where somebody eats hair, and I can't even talk about it. There is something about that literally gives me goosebumps. This is gross. This is sexy. This is appetites. This is Gothic. This is just hunger in general. I really, really enjoyed this. There is a lot of moments in this where you realize that you're feeling a little bit good for her. The morally gray viewpoints of some of the characters. This is so stinking good, so stinking worth your time, and very good twist on that Carmilla story. This is not a beat for beat retelling by any means. This is definitely this author who used the story of Carmilla as their inspiration for this story. The next book we're going to talk about is The Lamb. This is a little bit different than a lot of the books on the story because the atmosphere of this, although very Gothic, is very wholly original to this story. This is the story of Margot, and Margot in the opening of this book is very, very young and is a child throughout the entirety of this story. Margot lives in a secluded home in the edge of a forest with just her and Mama. And Mama is a complicated character. She's almost fae-like in the eyes of her child. She's just like beautiful, magical, dark creature that her daughter worships. But Mama is also incredibly dangerous. Living on the edge of a forest, sometimes people find themselves lost and stumbling upon their doorstep looking for help. And when Mama lets these, what she calls strays, into their home, they do not leave again. Mama is dangerous, and Margot lives in the bubble with this very dangerous person. This is gory and sad, and honestly, this is very fairy tale-like. The rhythm and the beauty of the writing really makes it feel like a fairy tale. There is a lot of things in this that are kind of stretches. If you really think about them too much, I think things would start to fall apart, but in the fairy tale feel of this, you just go with it. This is just the story of Margot living in this situation that is incredibly dangerous, alone with Mama, until one day someone else shows up. Let's not bark at that dog. It doesn't seem the least bit interested in you, so perhaps not. Thank you. When talking about this book, I always say the opening line of this book really sets the tone. One sentence, and this is how this book is going to go. On my 4th birthday, I plucked 6 severed fingers from the shower drain. This story I really, really enjoyed. I think this author has an incredibly macabre and beautiful voice in their writing, and I'm excited to see what they come up with in the future. But if you're interested in something that feels like a Gothic fairy tale that's taking place in modern times, but it just feels Gothic, it's just dripping with Gothic. Just dripping goopy with Gothic. The next book we're going to talk about is something that I just recently finished. I got it through the library, and to say I'm obsessed is an understatement. Blood on Her Tongue. I went into this having a bare bones synopsis of what I was getting, and I read this book in 48 hours. The only reason I didn't read it in 24 hours is because I had life get in the way, and damn it, life, I'm trying to read a book. This is the story of 2 sisters. We have Lucy, who is our main point of view and main character, and her twin sister, Sarah. Lucy gets an alarming letter from her sister that seems very, for lack of a better way of putting it, deranged. She's writing very frantically about a bog body that weeks prior she had written a letter to her sister explaining that her and her husband and some other people on their land had discovered a body in a bog on their property. They removed the body from the bog, which in hindsight probably was the wrong move, and now Sarah has mentally deteriorated. Lucy rushes to be at Sarah's side, and she arrives at the home of Sarah and her husband, which is this giant stone building that is sinking into the bog that it resides upon. The atmosphere of this is just this giant home full of dark corners existing on a bog. We don't leave the house too often. This house is our entire world in this book. Sarah is exhibiting some strange symptoms. Lucy is so worried because Sarah and their family have a history of mental instability. Lucy and Sarah, being twins and sisters, are just so interconnected. Sarah and Lucy's relationship is so complicated. Them being twins, they're incredibly close. They would literally die for each other, but there are moments where they have jealousy and regret and moments of realism within a sibling relationship. They have secrets from each other. There is this underlying mystery of the bog body. What the hell is happening to Sarah? The people in the home are keeping secrets from each other. You are thinking you're getting one thing, you're getting another. There's twists, there's turns, and in the end, you're standing in a night shift in your bare feet as they are soaked with blood. I enjoyed this so much, and I think if you're the least bit interested, it's definitely worth your time. The next book I'm going to recommend is Mexican Gothic. This is a reimagining of Edgar Allan Poe's Fall of the House of Usher. That is a story that, although I have read an insane amount of reimaginings of it, I have never read the Edgar Allan Poe tale, and I should remedy that soon. Don't know what my problem is. Have no idea. This is the story of Noemi, and she is a socialite. She is seen as kind of a frivolous party girl. Wears beautiful outfits, has beautiful hair, hangs out with the beautiful people, and hasn't really found the direction in her life. But Noemi is so much more than that. She lets people believe that she is just frivolous and flippant, but really she is loyal and strong-willed and a lot smarter than people give her credit for. Noemi's father receives a troubling letter from her cousin who was recently married and moved out to the middle of nowhere with her new husband and his family. Being concerned about Noemi's cousin, Noemi's father convinces her to travel to this estate and check on her cousin. Something sinister is going on here. Can this family be trusted? Can anyone be trusted? It's very drippy manor, old wallpaper that seems to be peeling. A place that used to be so opulent and rich, but this family is not nearly as prestigious as they once were. Just Gothic AF. Gothic is a really interesting story. I really enjoyed it. I love the traveling to this Gothic house, secluded, sinister motives, what's going on. Putting this story in a new location, but still having drip in this Gothic facade. Moving on to something also inspired by that same Edgar Allan Poe tale, because again, I just need to read it. You know, What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I'm a huge fan of T. Kingfisher. I like their fantasy books. I like their horror books. This one is teensy tiny and is the beginning of a series. In this story, we are following Alex, and they are a veteran who receives a letter from a friend. And this friend says, I am on death's door. You better get here if you want to say goodbye to me. So Alex travels to the distant and secluded estate of the Ushers, where they meet their friend Madeline, who is just experiencing some really strange symptoms, her brother, who also doesn't seem well, and there's a doctor here who is helping care for the siblings. Quickly, we are just wrapped up in the mystery of what the hell is happening to the Ushers in this crumbling estate covered in mold and mushrooms. Even the wildlife nearby seems to be off and weird. Alex is trying to figure out what the hell is going on. This was a lot of fun. I am really affected, probably why I like Gothic stories so much. I'm really affected by mold and mildew. It creeps me the hell out. A lot of these stories are happening in places that just smell musty as hell. Just moldy as Alex continues on in their adventures in the second book, and there is a third book soon to be released. This is my favorite in the series. Even though I believe the Gothic vibes continue on in the story, this one is definitely the most traditionally Gothic so far. The next book we're going to talk about is one that I swear I have not seen anyone talk about, but maybe I'm just watching the wrong booktube. Little Eve. This is the same author that brought us The Last House on Needless Street, which I feel like was an absolute hit for this author. This book was re-released after that book went absolutely bananas on bestsellers list, and is very, very different from that story, though by the same author, so you're getting the same mastery of chilling, twisty writing. This is the story of a cult. This is a cult that is living in a secluded place in the Scottish countryside in this crumbling, dilapidated building. They are keeping themselves separate from the locals in the local town, and they are run by a mysterious and charismatic character who is referred to as Uncle. We are getting multiple timelines from multiple different points of views, some taking place years after a great big event has happened within the cult, and some taking place before this event has happened and working their way towards this event that is going to be the momentous moment in this book. I will say this is a very slow, creeping, twisty story. It is the kind of story that you are just following along while sinister things are happening in this incredibly Gothic and strange cult that is allowed to exist, and these people who believe wholeheartedly in the teachings that they have been given. I really liked this, but I think you need to be in the mood for something that's slow and atmospheric and not something incredibly bombastic. You're just going to kind of travel along in these timelines wondering what the hell is coming, but knowing that this cult and its members can't exist in this bubble they've created. It's too sinister. It's too dark. It just can't sustain itself. And the last book we're going to talk about is House of Hunger, yet another vampire tale. Vampires and Gothic go well together. What can I say? This is the story of Marion, and she is a young woman struggling to survive in a large city. In this world, there are these great estates that are different houses known by different names, and they employ blood maids. Marion sees an ad and answers it in a moment of desperation, trying to get out of this city, but also because she needs money to live, to become a blood maid to the House of Hunger, an aristocratic house north of the city that these just stupid wealthy people hang out and just be stupid wealthy and ridiculous. She goes there because these aristocrats enjoy drinking blood for a multitude of reasons in order to keep them young or make them pretty. They're not vampires in the traditional sense. They're just absolutely ridiculous wealthy people who drink blood because they think it makes them pretty. They are so wealthy, they can pay for people to drink their blood. There's commentary there, okay? Marion ends up at the House of Hunger, where she immediately catches the eye of the Countess, which at first seems like a blessing. To be the favorite of the Countess seems to be a place you would want to be within this court, but slowly, as other blood maids start to go missing or become ill, something is going on behind the scenes, and perhaps our Marion character is in danger. This is a story that I feel like, again, creeps and crawls to its big conclusion. You spend the first part of this just learning the world and being in this silly, opulent, gaudy, over-the-top wealthy place with these ridiculously wealthy aristocrats. And Marion, coming from a very poor background, can see the ridiculous and the just gluttony of this House of Hunger. But she is wrapped up in what being the favorite of the Countess, getting to experience some of this wealth means, until the dark and sinister things start happening. And then it kind of goes bananas. I really enjoyed this. It's a different take on a vampire tale. The atmosphere of this over-the-top wealth, this being in a place where you are a commodity, is very, very interesting, and I liked how it was done. Let's do one more book. Dowry of Blood, which I have the original cover, and it's incredibly shiny, so I'm going to try and not blind you with it. This is a Dracula retelling from the point of view of one of Dracula's brides. In this story, we have Constanta, and she is a peasant in, I believe, medieval times, on the verge of death, when a mysterious character comes and grants her not only the gift of life, but he lives an opulent, he takes her to a castle and they wear fancy clothes, and just she's suddenly swept up into this life of wealth and abundance after being sick and poor and almost dead. She falls in love with not only this lifestyle, but the person that provides it. But he is not the romantic, idealized character that she thinks he is. She is one of the brides of Dracula. This story is told from Constanta's point of view, as she is explaining what she does at the end of this book to the Dracula type character. She's informing the great love of her life to the reasons of why she does what she does. There are other wives brought into this situation. This is a polyamorous relationship. We travel through centuries with not only Dracula, but these other characters that come into the mix. It is telling Dracula from a completely different perspective. It's incredibly romantic, even though it is incredibly toxic, the relationship that she is in. She is learning about herself, coming into her own strength, making new relationships, finding her power, and I really think this is absolutely gorgeously done. The new covers of this are beautiful. I just was lucky enough to get this cover, which I think is fantastic, having purchased it before it was traditionally published. But if you're looking for Gothic, vampires, toxic relationships, this one, definitely worth your time. But that, kids, is where we are going to end this Gothic recommendation video. Like I said, I have some more Gothic videos coming out because I have so much to say about Gothic books. I love them. But if you had fun hanging out with me and the dogs, please subscribe. If you have some more Gothic books you love, gimme. Put them in the comments. I want to hear all about them. And I'll see you next time.